Good morning. Pastor Michelle here with your morning devotion. Today we start in Jeremiah chapter 25. Jeremiah received the Lord's word concerning all the people of Judah in the 4th year of Judah's king Jehoiakim, Josiah's son. This was the 1st year of Babylon's king Nebuchadnezzar. The prophet Jeremiah addressed all the people of Judah and all those living in Jerusalem. From the 13th year of Judah's king Josiah, Amon's son, to this very day, 23 years, the Lord's word has come to me. I have delivered it to you repeatedly, although you won't listen. In fact, the Lord has tirelessly sent you all his servants, the prophets, but you won't listen or pay attention. They said, each of you, turn from your evil ways and deeds and live in the fertile land that the Lord gave you and your ancestors for all time. Don't follow or worship other gods, and don't anger me by what you make with your hands. Then I won't bring disaster upon you, but you wouldn't listen to me, making me angry by what you do and bringing disaster upon yourselves, declare the Lord. Therefore, this is what the Lord of heavenly forces says. Because you haven't listened to my words, I'm going to muster all the tribes of the north and make servant King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, declares the Lord, and I will bring them against this country and its residents, as well as against all the surrounding nations. I will completely destroy them and will make them an object of horror, shock, and ruins for all time. I will silence the sounds of joy and laughter and the voices of the bride and the bridegroom. Yes, I will silence the millstones and snuff out the lamplight. This whole country will be reduced to a wasteland, and these nations will serve the king of Babylon for 70 years. When the 70 years are over, I will punish the king of Babylon and his nation for their wrongdoing, declares the Lord. I will reduce the land of the Babylonians to a wasteland for all time. I will unleash upon the land everything I decreed, all that is written in this scroll which Jeremiah prophesied against all the nations. Yes, many great nations and powerful kings will enslave them, and I will pay them back in full for what they have done and made with their hands. This is what the Lord God of Israel said to me. Take this seething cup of wine from my hand and make all the nations gulp it down where I'm sending you. They will drink and stagger about half crazed because of the sword that I am sending against them. So I took the cup of the Lord from the Lord's hand, and I made all the nations drink from it where the Lord had sent me. Jerusalem and the towns of Judah, its kings and officials. This was to make them a wasteland, an object of horror, shock, and cursing as it is today. Pharaoh, Egypt's king, his attendants and officials, and all his peoples, including the foreigners living there, all the kings of the land of Uz, all the kings of the lands of the Philistines, Ashkelon, Gaza, Ekron, and what's left of Ashdod, Edom, Moab, and the Ammonites, all the kings of Tyre and Sidon, and the kings of the coastlands across the sea, Dedan, Timnah, Buz, and all those who cut their hair, the hair of their foreheads, all the kings of Arabia and the nomadic tribes, all the kings of Zimzi, Elam, and Media, all the kings of the north, who's nearby and those far away, one after another. All the empires on the earth will drink from this cup, and after them the king of Shishgak will drink from it. Then say to them, the Lord of heavenly forces, the God of Israel, proclaims, drink this seething cup of wine and get drunk. Vomit and collapse and don't get up again because of the sword that I'm thrusting into you. If they refuse to take the cup from your hand and drink from it, tell them, this is what the Lord of heavenly forces says. You must drink. Look, I'm bringing disaster upon the city that bears my name. How then will you escape unpunished? You will not. I'm summoning the sword against everyone on earth, declares the Lord of heavenly forces. Now prophesy all these things and say to them, the Lord roars on high, from his holy place he thunders. He roars fiercely against his flock, like the shouting of those who tread on grapes against everyone on earth. The uproar is heard far and wide. Because the Lord is bringing a lawsuit against the nations, he is entering into judgment with all people, sentencing the guilty to death, declares the Lord. The Lord of heavenly forces proclaims, look, disaster travels from nation to nation. A terrible storm comes from the far ends of the earth. At that time, those struck down by the Lord will fill the earth, and no one will mourn for them to prepare their bodies for burial. They will become like refuge lying on the ground. Wail, you shepherds, cry out. Roll in the dust, you masters of the flock. The day of your slaughter has arrived. You will fall and shatter like a fragile vase. The shepherds have no place to hide. The masters of the flock can't escape. Hear the cry of the shepherds and the sobbing of the masters of the flock, because the Lord is ravaging their pasture. There's an eerie silence in the peaceful meadows because the Lord's fierce anger. The lion is on the prowl and the land is reduced to nothing because of the fierce sword, because of his fierce anger. Early in the rule of Judah's king Joachim, Josiah's son, this word came from the Lord. The Lord proclaims, stand in the temple courtyard and speak to all the people in the towns of Judah who come to the temple to worship. Tell them everything I command you. Leave nothing out. Perhaps they will listen, and each will turn from their evil ways. If they do, I will relent and not carry out the harm I have in mind for them because of the wrong they have done. So tell them, the Lord proclaims. If you don't listen to me or follow the instructions I have set before you, if you don't listen to the words of the prophets that I have sent to you time and again, though you haven't listened, then I will make this temple a ruin like Shiloh. And this city I will make a curse before all nations on earth. The priests and the prophets and all the people heard Jeremiah declare these words from the Lord's temple. And when Jeremiah finished saying everything the Lord had told him to say, the priests and the prophets and all the people seized him and said, you must die. Why do you prophesy in the Lord's name that this temple will become a ruin like Shiloh? And the city will be destroyed and left without inhabitant. Then all the people joined ranks against Jeremiah in the Lord's temple. When the officials of Judah heard these things, they went up to the royal palace, to the Lord's temple, and took their places at the entrance of the new gate of the Lord's temple. The priests and the prophets said to the officials and all the people, this man deserves to die for prophesying against the city, as you have all heard firsthand. Jeremiah said to all the officials and to all the people, the Lord sent me to prophesy to this temple and this city everything you have heard. So now transform your ways and actions. Obey the Lord your God, and the Lord may relent and not carry out the harm that he's pronounced against you. But me, I'm in your hands. Do whatever you would like to me. Only know for certain that if you sentence me to death, you and the people of this city will be guilty for killing an innocent man. The Lord has in fact sent me to speak everything I have said to you. Then the officials and all the people said to the priests and the prophets, this man doesn't deserve to die, for he has spoken to us in the name of the Lord our God. A few of the community elders got up and addressed the whole crowd. Micah of Moresheth, who prophesied again during the rule of the Judah's Hezekiah, said to all the people of Judah, the Lord of heavenly forces proclaims, Zion will be plowed down like a field. Jerusalem will become piles of rubble, and the Temple Mount will become an overgrown mound. Did King Hezekiah or anyone else in Judah execute him? Didn't he instead fear the Lord and plead for his mercy? Then the Lord relented of the harm that he had pronounced against them. We are about to commit a huge mistake that will cost us our lives. There was another man who prophesied in the Lord's name, Uriah, Shemaiah's son, from Kiriath Jearim. He prophesied the same things that Jeremiah did about this city and against this land. When King Jehoiakim and all his warriors and the officials heard his words, the king sought to kill him. Uriah heard this and fled for fear to Egypt. But King Jehoiakim dispatched Elnathan, Achbor's son, and others to Egypt. They brought Uriah back to Egypt to the king, who had him killed, and his body was thrown into a common burial ground. But Achaiah, Shaphan's son, protected Jeremiah and wouldn't let the people execute him. That concludes our readings for this morning. It's not easy to be a prophet for God. It's not always easy to be a messenger for God. But remember that God has said that he will continue to protect Jeremiah through this whole thing. I pray that you understand that God has protection for each of his messengers, that when we are doing what he calls us to do, that although it will not be an easy road, it's one that is protected by God. I pray that you hear these words, that you meditate on them, that you continue to ask for God to show you the vision that he has set before you. And I pray that you have a great day. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye.